This is my first video quiz. My name is Allison Gray, and this is the third time I've done this because I keep going over. So I'm going to try to keep it short. So for Chapter 1, what was the idea or ideas that stood out in this Chapter 2? Chapter 1, there are two types of distractions that you can face during a public speech, internally and externally. Internally, if you're hungry, that's going to be distracting you. Externally, if there's construction noise going outside, that's going to distract you. What did you learn in this chapter you didn't know before reading it? That based on audience feedback, that has the power to turn a speaker from mediocre to a great public speaker. Feedback is very important. So why are these ideas important to public speaking? Because everyone needs to know how they are doing in order to improve. I also think it can work both ways. You may have someone who's overly confident and not shy, but completely misses the point they're trying to make. So feedback is extremely important so that whether you're nervous or you're overly confident, you know where you need to improve in order to make your speech better. So professionally, this can be used in a professional life if you're a manager trying to give directions. If you only relay half of your message in a board meeting to employees about what they should and shouldn't be doing, and they come back and say, hey, I finished my job, and you get all snippy with them, but it's your fault because you didn't relay the message as fully as you should have been. So that falls back on you, and there's your feedback from your employee thinking they did the work to the fullest extent, and they didn't because you didn't give them the right information. So also, what stood out to me in this chapter for lectures and supplemental information is how to get through speech anxiety, what is required of you during your speeches as far as clothing, discussing talking points, who you're going to be appealing to as far as your audience goes. So you want to dress how you're going to be dressed in order to not appeal to your audience per se, but you're not going to wear ball gown material if you're going to go give a political speech in a park, if you're running for, a local, sheriff's department or whatnot. Now, chapter 2, what ideas that stood out to me would be credibility. Most topics require you to prove why you should be speaking on behalf of certain topics in the first place, which leads me to the question 2 for chapter 2. Citing all sources, no matter how much or how little information is being used from the source. That's something that I didn't know. I thought if it was just something small that I didn't have to put that, where I got it from. But whether you get it from a newspaper article, social media, from a book, you want to say where you got it from. And the importance is because you want to give credit where credit is due. If you don't, you're basically saying that an idea was yours when it was in fact the hard research of somebody else. So an example of how you could use this in a professional life, if you are in marketing and it's your job to come up with a pitch on sporting goods, if you are using the slogan, just do it, anywhere in your pitch, you should be referencing Nike. If not, you can get in all sorts of trouble with trademarks and other laws and get sued, and that's just not good. You want to give credit where the credit's due, who originally came up with it. So lecture materials, chapter 2, the lecture materials basically were your listening skills, when to use them, how to use them, how to improve on them. Whether you are in the audience or you're the one who's giving the speech, it's always important to have good listening skills. Chapter 3, something that stood out to me, terminology. So much terminology that I didn't even realize had to do with public speaking. So two of the terms that I didn't know before reading would be the terms slippery slope and red herring. Why are they important? Because if you watch any sort of debate, these terms are widely used by the component as a distraction tactic. Most commonly, I've seen the red herring tactic, where one party will throw out irrelevant information or items to distract people from the actual issue at hand. And if you are following the news right now, the senator and the rape case, distraction tactic, red herring all over it, big flag saying, this is what what is happening if you're following the case. So I see this most commonly used in my own household with my kids. They use distraction tactics all the time. I have 3 children, so I'll have my older son do something, and he'll say my younger son was supposed to do it the day before, and then I get on one and not the other, and then my older son goes back to playing video games. So They are very, very good at the distraction tactic and red herring, if I do say so myself. So the lecture material for chapter 3, it would be how to do a proper outline. It's important to do a layout so you can make sure you're hitting all your main points, your topics flow together, and you can make smooth transitions. You know, whether you're doing it for a class or if you're on a political campaign, there's going to be someone who's proofreading your outline. You want to make sure you have everything in there that needs to be in there, taking out stuff that doesn't need to be in there, because you don't want irrelevant information. So chapter 3, key ideas that stood out in this chapter to me. You're required to participate just as much in an online course as you would if you were doing it in school. What did you learn in this chapter you did not know before reading it? That you do not only need to use a computer for recording speeches. You can use a cell phone, you can use an iPad, as long as it picks up what you're putting down and it's clear, you can hear everything. I prefer my laptop in order to do my speeches. And why are these important in public speaking? Because a majority of public speeches, depending on your major, are going to be recorded or televised, depending on obviously your major that you're going for. Now, to read the lecture on and supplemental information for the week, discuss key ideas and components. For chapter 13, common misconceptions on what you should and should not do during a speech. They covered 10 of them, but basically they say, do not look over your audience's head. Look them in the eye, stare at them, engage with them. That's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be trying to distract yourself in order so that you're not sitting there sweating. So make sure that you engage with your audience and pay attention to them. So that is what I learned. Thank you.